I think in that time, I looked at there's, I say plan A, there it's no plan, but I have option A, option B.
Hmm.
Okay, you're my option A. Here's option B. For me, this seems so much easier.
Yeah.
There's no commitment. There's no responsibilities. I don't have to worry about anything but myself. The kids are older. Maybe if the kids were younger, there's a little bit more that goes into that. But it's, I can do this by myself.
Hmm.
I might struggle, but I'm not going to have to answer to anybody.
Yeah.
And so those things would go through
Well,
your mind. Thank you for joining us on Before the Vows. My name is Robert. This is my lovely wife, Monica.
hi.
And today we want to answer some of the more common questions that many standers have about their prodigal, the spouse that has left the home, that has left the marriage, and we're going to answer it from where we were
Right.
in these situations. I'm going to try and answer the questions from where I was as the prodigal, and then also try to bring in some of that now that I'm aware of what I was doing,
Yeah.
why I was doing it.
Right.
Um, So the first question, and one of the more common questions, is why did my spouse leave when we were still married? So why did my spouse leave is that a question that
Okay.
you had?
Yes. I why you left when we were still married. I just wondered why you just didn't follow through with the divorce. Why you just kept trying to live this. You weren't, well, I guess you kind of were living a double life. I mean, you would come home and ignore me,
Yeah.
but why you just didn't completely leave.
Yeah, and I think um one of the things is, and I've said this before, is, you know, as we're going through our marriage, and I look, I can see now, um, we have our problems, and well, let's say from when we first started dating. You have a little problem, an argument, and
Yeah.
there's an issue there, and then later on we're going to have another argument, or there's another problem, or maybe there's a financial problem, a stress gets added on
Hmm.
top, and then we might have another disagreement or an argument, a heated argument, and then there's another thing on top. Um, Maybe something happens with our kids, and then it's nobody's fault, but there's another problem,
Yeah.
and then we start having arguments, and it's you and I can look at everybody else. I don't have that,
Right.
bitterness towards anybody, but because it's
Hmm.
you and it's an argument, so you almost become not my enemy, but my enemy,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
so as it goes, it's like it's just one on top of the other, where eventually there's so much on top that it's so top heavy that's going to topple over. And I think it's just you react, and it boiled over, and I want out.
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave. The easiest thing is just to walk out,
Uh-huh.
just to run away from it,
Right.
instead of handling it, because
Hmm.
of my attachment style, not really addressing things or finishing something that I started. It was the easiest thing for me was to escape, just to go. And if I had to divorce, it would have meant, okay, I've got to prioritize some things.
Hmm.
Right there, my life is chaos. Nothing's in order.
Right.
And so it includes that. So I didn't do it like, okay, hey, look, let's talk,
Right.
because I didn't know how to
Yeah.
communicate. I didn't know how to open up.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know how to communicate, but I would have been mad or angry, because we would have hit an emotional um, side of me,
Hmm.
and those were things I just didn't know how to deal with. And so as the prodigal, I'm not looking for that. I had other things that I had slowly started creeping into, which was like hanging out with my friends and
Hmm.
drinking alcohol. And at that moment, it's like, do I want the arguing,
Yeah.
or do I want this? There's no responsibilities. I'm just going to leave. So instead of hassling with, I'm going to divorce her, let's do things the right way. Again, my life is chaos. Just leave.
Uh-huh.
So that was the easy route.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other more common questions is, if they love me, how could they walk away or do what they're doing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, throughout our pretty much our whole relationship, right? Like we've been together since I was 19 years old, and so um yeah, thinking that we would never get to this place. But yeah, I would think if he loves me, he said he loved me, how could he do this to me?
Yeah. And so from the prodigal's point of view, and we talk about this a lot, we're understanding more about the attachment styles
Uh-huh.
and how they play a huge part in us as adults and in our relationships, especially our relationships. Um, I did care about you, and that was the reason why I acted out, or the reason why I left. So I loved you, so you're my source of love,
Uh-huh.
but because of all our arguments, you're also the source of um, some some trauma that's creeping in.
Uh-huh.
And so when you look at like my upbringing, my parents, the source of love, also the source of fear. And so the mechanisms within me, the fight or flight mode, are telling me you're in love, guard yourself because this is
Mm-hmm.
dangerous. The ones that are supposed to be loving me were also the ones that I feared. And so in order to protect myself, I would just shut down and shut out.
Right.
So I didn't know how to communicate those things. And so I walk away.
Yeah. So that's what we know now. We know that now. But as the prodigal, to help the standards understand what is
I I don't I don't know what's going on with me. It's
okay.
just I feel um I want to run away from it. At that moment I just want to run away from it. And so we would get into arguments. You would question me, something very innocent, but I feel, and I still get that, like that sometimes. I feel like, okay, why are you addressing me like that? What did I do? You're accusing me.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of times you came off like there were accusations against
Uh-huh.
me. There were.
Well, it's the way that I also, it's what I'm learning how just, I didn't mean sometimes to accuse you, but also the way that I word things
Right.
did come off like that. But also your attachment style just took it. It was going to take it like
Yeah,
that for the most part.
but even if you didn't mean anything by
Mm-hmm.
it, you could have asked me an innocent question, and again, my mind goes back to, oh, there's a responsibility. I'm lacking
Yeah.
somewhere.
Right.
I'm not a good husband. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not being a good father. I'm not a good provider. All those things come in my mind. I don't even know that.
Yeah.
And so the easy thing for me was, again, I just started getting so upset, and I think in that time I looked at, there's, I say plan A, there it's no plan, but I have option A, option B.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're my option A. Here's option B. For me, this seems so much easier.
Yeah.
There's no commitment, there's no responsibilities. I don't have to worry about anything but myself. The kids are older. Maybe if the kids were younger, there's a little bit more that goes into that, but it's I can do this by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I might struggle, but I'm not going to have to answer to anybody.
Yeah.
And so those things would go through
Well,
your mind.
yeah, and that's what the enemy is.
Right.
We need to remember that Satan is the one who's planting all this in your head. He's using what we didn't know before.
Yeah, and it's really hard to recognize those
Right.
things. We were going to church and we're having these issues. How many times did we sit down and just really say, okay, let's stop. Let's pray together.
Uh-huh.
Let's work these things. Of course, that's not in my mindset.
Yeah.
That's nowhere near. It's like I'm
Right.
just going to be mad and let my rage take over. I don't care about anything.
Yeah.
And so those moments would have been, it would have been me recognizing what was wrong with me, but I
Right.
wasn't going to recognize
Yeah.
why I was doing that. So yeah, it was option A, option B. Option B seemed much easier.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that I didn't love you. It's just like, okay, I love her. I think I can get over her and move on and just live carefree, not having to answer to anybody.
Uh-huh.
But gosh, that road is so destructive.
Yeah.
So destructive. I got a taste of it for what, a year and a half, 2 years, and but even prior to all that, it's destructive. I've told you I don't see how I would have lived very long
Right.
because I know I would have, my addictions would have taken over and
Absolutely.
it would have destroyed me.
Yeah.
Besides destroying the marriage, our kids are having to go through all this emotional damage. So
And
yeah,
all that the Lord was revealing all of that to me.
yeah. only because you were in His Word,
Right.
constantly
Right.
praying. All right. Question number three: why did my spouse cheat instead of talking to me?
Hmm. Yeah, because all you think is you're not enough.
Right.
You're not enough. You're not thin enough. You're not thick enough.
Part of your insecurities or
Uh-huh.
your attachment.
Yeah, my attachment.
But
Um,
I think most women would feel that, or men,
well,
they
yeah, I
would
think that's
feel,
the go-to
yeah,
is what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me that he's stepping outside of me? Um, because I would always tell you, like, I would feel like I was the frumpy wife because, I'm the one who's dealing with you. I'm the one who's, manning the house or taking care of the kids. And um, so to me, it seemed like you thought everybody else was fun and everybody else was not the frumpy wife.
right. And that's what it was with me when it comes to relationships outside of the family,
Hmm.
outside of you. There was no commitment to anything. There was no responsibility with anything. I can talk to my friends much easier than I could
Hmm.
with my own brother.
Yeah.
I could talk to the kids in our youth when we were youth pastors much easier than I
Yeah.
could with my own kids, because if those youth told me that they were having a problem, well, let's solve it. It doesn't involve me.
Yeah.
If I tell my kids and they tell me they have a problem, it's involving me.
Yeah. You would
And
tell me that
and it tells me
sometimes.
like, where did I go wrong?
Hmm.
What where's my inadequacies? It's like I did something wrong. And so, not thinking about this very often, but I realize that's why it's hard to communicate with um, people that I am very close to, my family, my children, you. And so with you, and I believe this is pretty much straight across the board with avoidance, talking to you and just saying, Monica, I have this desire, or this temptation is coming because this happened at work, or I was eating, and this person came up to me, because it would have involved me being vulnerable.
Yeah.
um, it would have involved me um, letting some of the walls down, and it's part of being vulnerable and just being open with you. um, I think a lot of times it's that maybe you get that little, not maybe, you get that little look, you get that
Yeah.
little touch, the little subtle things that you may not think are huge,
Uh-huh.
because it's, what was that about? And you get some validation in that.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say, that I know one of the things that we've learned about the avoidant attachment style is that they don't have that internal validation. So they are seeking it, and you probably, I think for the most part, you didn't think you were seeking it. Maybe.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't seek it, but I guess you could say you really wanted it.
You really wanted it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't seeking it, but I wouldn't mind if it came.
Right.
Yeah, it's something that you, not that you live for, but
Mhm.
you thrive off of that stuff.
Right. Yeah, because even with your friends, when people talk about how good you are at something or how
Oh yeah,
you
it's like you want to pat yourself on the back.
right, it
Hmm.
really means something to you, whereas to me, I don't need that. But because my attachment style is a bit different.
Yeah.
So not realizing that now we do know that, but that is something that you really like craved,
Hmm.
and when you were getting it,
Yeah.
you were moving on that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. It's like, you don't go to work. I didn't go to work thinking I'm gonna cheat.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where a simple, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah.
Well, that was different. As a coworker, you don't need to touch it. Hey, how was your day? Oh, it's
Right.
good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Go back to work.
Right.
Instead, hey, so how was your day?
Yeah.
Just a subtle little touch, and for an avoidant, it's one of those like, oh, that was different. You read into it,
Hmm.
and it could be that that individual meant something by it
Right.
and was testing the waters.
Right.
Well, I took the bait.
Hmm.
And so it's not, hey, sweetheart, I do now, but back then I'm like, hey Mona, I just want to tell you something because I want to protect our marriage.
Yeah.
This is what happened, and I felt a certain way.
Right.
Well, I'm being vulnerable.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where that saying where you put a frog in boiling water, he's going to jump out, but if you put him in cold water and
Uh-huh.
slowly turn the heat, he'll sit there and
Yeah.
he adjusts to the temperature. That's what it is.
Hmm.
It's you slowly adjust to the temperature to where it's just a casual little rub, or hey, how's it,
Right.
whatever, something that was said that you take a certain way,
Right.
and then it leads to the next step, the next step, the next step, and by the time you know it, you're deep into this. Looking back, it's like, wow, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And so you just continue on because also it's I'm wanted.
Yeah.
Someone wants me. So I am still attractive. I'm still someone to
Right.
somebody,
Well,
because in the home growing
uh-huh.
up, I didn't get those things.
Yeah. Well, and I was gonna say, because even a wife, right? Like, and there's some wives who probably are that way with the husband, but we've also learned that you could be 100% great with your husband, like you could be the best wife to your husband, but because of his attachment style, because of that attachment
Huge,
style,
huge.
it's still how he's going to function
Yeah,
until he realizes it, until well, with us, God starts dealing with it.
we take for granted the things our spouse does.
Right.
Um, you may have said, "Oh, you look so handsome."
Mhm.
Oh, you said that. Yeah, I know. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But when someone else tells you,
Right.
it's like, "Oh, wow,
Yeah.
I am good looking." Or when someone says, "Man, good job," you could tell me after I fixed, the lawnmower. Good job. Hey, thank you, sweetheart. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. It's
Right.
like, oh, no problem. It's part of my duties. But if someone else tells me if I go and fix their lawnmower, they're gonna. It's like it means more,
Yeah.
and it's weird. It's not that it just it doesn't mean more. You hear it
You hear,
louder.
yeah, that's how, yeah.
It's different. Of course, I appreciate every time you tell me, I really appreciate the work you're doing. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for
Hmm.
doing that. Whereas before, it was just, you just don't take it the same way.
Yeah.
And we've heard a story from someone where they said that their spouse was a handyman,
Uh-huh.
and they would complain um, when they did things around the house.
Hmm.
And I read this in a book. And but when they did things for other people, they didn't mind
Right.
because it's different.
Right.
It's like, okay, these are my priorities. I'm looking at something where, oh my gosh, where did I fail?
Uh-huh.
I'm having to do maintenance. This is stress. This is anxiety. This is all this stuff coming.
Right.
And so, but going outside, it's okay because there's no attachment there. There's no
Yeah.
commitment there. There's no
Right.
responsibility. I'm doing it for you. If it, I'm going to do the best I can, and then you hear, "Thank you so much," because you want to help someone and you want to hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
Good job.
yeah, and what as you're talking, I'm thinking, that's crazy because that's not how I function.
Yeah.
I want to do for my husband. I want to do for my kids. I kind of have always done
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't do as much for you, but I would prefer to do it for my family than, somebody outside of my home.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at, why aren't you the same as me? That's what was really hard. So I couldn't see, I didn't understand. Obviously we didn't understand this stuff before.
Yeah. And everybody is programmed differently.
Yeah.
Everybody has different circumstances growing up, different trauma.
Yeah.
Um, Growing up, so not everybody's going to be wired the same,
Right.
so everybody's going to function differently, and especially with avoidance and anxious like we are,
Uh-huh.
you're married to someone else. They say that secure people attract secure people, so they're fine. It's the avoidance and
Yeah.
the anxious ones, the disorganized ones, that attract each other.
Uh-huh.
And so you're going to have two different people in that relationship, and so there's going to be some conflict
Yeah.
because you're not going to react the way I do.
Right.
Yeah, you're not going to need what I need.
Uh-huh.
You're going to need something totally different.
Yeah.
And so unless that's communicated,
Right.
you're not going to know.
Right. Well, and even when we would communicate it, I think we've said it before, we would communicate it, but we weren't trying to hear
Well, yeah,
each other
I
either.
think if we communicated, it wasn't, we didn't know the deeper
Right, the
issues.
deeper
And
issues.
and
Yeah.
so once you, that's why just being vulnerable and being honest and open and just foretelling and just
Yeah.
vulnerability is just huge.
Yeah.
Being able to do that. Yeah.
Well, and the example that you gave, I remember, and I've said, we've talked about it before, but I remember when I was put in that situation years ago, and I told you, when I walked out of a place, I had a smile on my face because of something that was said to me from somebody from the past. And immediately when I walked out, I knew I had to call you because it was going to fester. It was going to, I might have gone again to that same place because of what was said to me. So I know that feeling, even though, I mean, my husband has told me I'm beautiful, but somebody else telling me I'm beautiful, it's like, wow, I want to hear it again from that
Yeah.
somebody. But had I, um, you know, thank the Lord at that time, we were already serving the Lord, that I knew right away to call you so that it was no longer a secret. It couldn't be a secret
Right.
anymore. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Another question. Why do they act like I'm the problem now?
Yeah. So I always felt I was the problem. I always felt I was the problem. I always felt and I've said it before that I knew Robert loved me, but I didn't think he liked me because it seemed like I I was the problem. I was the problem. Um, I mean he you were finding everything. You were like from it was like all of a sudden we've been in our home for years, but I know that was something that you were bringing up is like our home, and it's not the home that it was like you were finding every reason to be upset with me,
Yeah.
even from things from years back.
Yeah. And so that was one of the things that I was doing was deflecting. Of course, you do a little bit of this too, but that was what I did.
Mhm.
I just, if I admitted guilt to anything, then I'm admitting that I fell short.
Uh-huh.
That I'm admitting that I'm inadequate or thinking that I'm inadequate in some way. So it was a form of protection. And of course, back then I didn't know. So anytime I was doing that, saying, no, 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 it's not me, it's not me. Well, look at what you did, and this, that, and the
Uh-huh.
other. Of course, we had those discussions back and forth. I
Right.
would always say, like, you have a hard time apologizing.
Yeah.
And so I was always constantly trying to get you to understand this is what you're doing, and this is why I did this.
Uh-huh.
And then I wanted you to say, okay, I'm sorry, which sometimes you needed to, but it was always going to be like, these are your shortcomings. Look at what you're doing
Yeah.
wrong.
Right.
I'm going to take all the burden off of me
Yeah.
and put it on you.
Right.
Tell me you're wrong, and then we can move past this.
Mhm.
And then maybe some other things would have been like, okay, let's keep talking about it. But yeah, it was all about deflection. I didn't want to admit guilt, and um, I'm always. It was a way of me saying, like the question, you're the problem, not me.
Yeah, and obviously as the prodigal, you had to stay in that place, right? So
Yeah.
that you could keep doing what you were doing.
Yeah, yeah. It was always going to be you. Why are you yelling at me? Why are you doing this? You pushed me away. You
Uh-huh.
did this.
Uh-huh.
One, it's from a lack of knowledge and not knowing what was going on with myself.
Yeah.
It was a way of me protecting myself. Again, I didn't think I was protecting myself. It was just that's how I would act.
Uh-huh.
That's how I would react because um, I wanted you to be the problem.
Right.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to feel bad because I guess not knowing now, it would have reminded me of my past
Yeah.
in coming up as a child that
Right.
I was insufficient. I didn't meet my parents' expectations. I failed somewhere,
Yeah.
and so you, everything else had to be the problem.
Right. Well, and during this time, the Lord was telling me, it's not you. It's not about you. It's about him.
Yeah,
Like, and so the Lord was helping me heal because I'm thinking I'm the problem.
yeah,
He can't stand me. Everything I do is wrong. But God was truly dealing with me.
Yeah.
And I think once I finally was like, it's not me. It's not me. Like I mean, I was like the chaos is within him, right? Um, but yeah, it's just God was healing me, still is healing me. I know it's not God was showing me what my things were. But as far as what was going on with you and the anger or blaming me all the time, there was some faults. Not saying there wasn't any
Right,
faults
right,
on my
right.
part. There were some faults, but as far as like the things that you were trying to stay mad at,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, and that was the other thing too, is holding on to grudges,
uh-huh.
to prolong those things. I it was weird. It was just, that's what I did. I just
Yeah,
held on to grudges. That it just stayed there and it festered, and it
yeah,
just led to more separation when we
yeah,
were in the home. It's like, I don't want to talk to you. Let me cool down. Um, and so that's one thing my counselor said was, it doesn't have to be anybody's fault.
right.
And so,
Which is a
but
huge thing that we discovered.
I had to, I had to lay fault on someone,
Yeah,
and you were that
and I
someone.
was
Well,
so
sometimes it was the kids.
yeah, that's
Like
true.
they did
Right.
something so innocent. I'm like, why did you do this?
Yeah,
It was an accident.
right.
And I think back about how I reacted with the kids, and I wish I could take all those things back, but I didn't know. It's
Yeah,
what I was programmed to do. It's what I saw as a child. And so it really does visit the next generation
right,
unless you deal with it, unless you see it, you deal with it.
right.
It's going to continue. And that's one thing we may have mentioned, but had we had I gone through with the separation and we wound up divorcing, I meet someone else, the process is, it's a cycle. It
Right.
was going to repeat itself.
Right. And that's what the Lord was showing me, that it didn't matter who it was. It, and I've said it before, it's hard because obviously it does matter. I mean, there is somebody else, right? But the thing was is that there was going to be another somebody and another somebody that the Lord showed me. It was his heart that needed to change. Your heart needed to change towards
Hmm.
the Lord, just like mine did,
Yeah.
because my patterns were going to continue if I didn't seek the Lord and start doing what the Lord was telling me to do.
Yeah. Another question that's commonly asked is, why did they change so suddenly?
Yeah, it because I know you, and I'm like, this is not him. You're my husband's a homebody. Um, you but you were out all the time, and so in the beginning, I start thinking maybe this is who he wants to be. Maybe he has become this I would say frumpy husband because of me, because
Hmm.
of our life, and this is who he wants to be. I thought I knew you, right? And so yeah, you do think like, how did he change all of a sudden? Like how?
And it wasn't all of a sudden. It was something that was brewing. It
Uh-huh.
was something that um, was played out or thought about. It's kind of like the same thing with the analogy I gave with the bricks or the blocks that you stack on top, stack on top. You constantly stack. You constantly think about your life away from this trauma, your life
Uh-huh.
away from all the bills, your life away from all the responsibilities, your life away from commitment. And then eventually you've thought about it so much that you get to that tipping point, everything falls over, spills out, and you're like, I'm done. I'm walking out.
Yeah,
Well, where did this come from? Well,
right.
it was a buildup. It just kept going and kept going. And
It was a buildup that you never communicated to me.
yeah.
But that's also what they say about the avoidant attachment style or the disorganized, is that they don't communicate. They don't know how. They
Mm-mm.
don't communicate it. So and still the thing is that's not who you were. Like you didn't change suddenly. You just this is who you thought you wanted to
Right.
be.
Mm-hmm.
Who the
Yeah.
enemy, and again, the enemy is making you think this is the life. This is where you want to be. These are the things you want to be doing. This is where you want to be. Um, and it just seems great. And that's how I'm seeing it. It's like he is doing great. He's
Yeah. And it's just one of those things where, you're gonna stay in that once the prodigal leaves, and maybe there's few attempts because you guys have people have years together. The prodigal can't just cut it off. I mean, maybe in his mind he tries to, and he's making you
Right.
look like he's cut you off
Right.
completely, but he hasn't. Um, there's still that love. There's still that connection that you guys have built, that we built. Um, had I left there, I would have regretted. Um, I would have been filled with regret had I left. Um, but that place
Uh-huh.
that I stay in, and some prodigals stay longer because they just don't want to deal with reality yet.
Yeah.
They don't want to go back, and it could be that, again, had you um, questioned me
Uh-huh.
over and over
Right.
again, had you stayed the same,
Right.
I would have stayed out.
Yeah.
The process would have been longer. I would have been like, okay, I'm fine, whatever. You would have pushed me out of the plane eventually.
Yeah.
I would have jumped and said, I don't care. This seems much easier than dealing with all that at home.
Right. Yeah.
So, um, it is one of those things where they stay in it a little bit longer because maybe it's the same old story for them.
Uh-huh.
And it's, again, it's not excusing what they're doing,
Right.
but many times the prodigal stays out longer because um, that is the case where they don't want to go back,
Yeah.
and maybe there's some serious trauma that they've endured as a child, or even as a growing up as teenagers or in their 20s.
Uh-huh.
um, there's some trauma there.
Well, and I think too, honey, it's like, and Dr. E has mentioned it before, right? Like, the husband calls and then the wife just starts arguing and then she's like, it's another 4 years before he calls again or something like that. But that is where God was teaching me. When I heard from you or when you text me, I couldn't be like, when are you going to stop this, or when are you going to put the money back, or when do I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that with you, but because God was directing me and leading me. But all that would have done was made you hang up on me, or made you not call me.
Looking forward to the next night out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't going to help the situation.
Right.
And speaking about trauma, when I was right before my 21st birthday, this was a time when I started experimenting with drugs.
Uh-huh.
I had an episode or an experience where I did a lot in one night, and my heart was racing, like it was
Yeah.
speeding. Um, I didn't think anything of it, but from that time on, I had had anxiety issues
Uh-huh.
thinking about that. Anytime something happened to my heart,
Right.
because I remember I went to the doctor the next day, the hospital, and the doctor told me, you should have come to the hospital because your heart could have
Yeah.
busted, it could have
Right.
exploded. And that really left me traumatized. And so for years,
Years.
probably 15, 20 years, I was constantly going to the emergency room
Right.
because anytime something happened with my heart, I started getting anxiety.
We'd have
My
to call the
We'd have to
ambulance.
call the
Uh-huh.
ambulance. It was traumatic for me,
Right.
and so I think that really changed who I was a lot. And so trauma is not just from your childhood; it's also, as you get older. So those things can have an effect on people.
Right. Well, and we talked about, because of childhood trauma, what led you
Right.
to do what you did? What led you to the
We
drugs?
talked
Right.
about this just before the
Right.
recording. Is why I remember the first time. It was one of those things where it was part of peer pressure. I didn't want them to think that I was being weak,
Right.
or what people would call a sissy,
Right.
or it's like, oh, come on, Robert, why didn't you do it? So I was, and it was instantaneously. I didn't even think about all that stuff, but
Right.
that's what's going on in my mind. And right off the bat, just do it. And so that, I like the feeling, and it just snowballed from there. It
Yeah.
just kept going and kept
Right.
going. And so yeah, it was part of not. It was part of being accepted.
Right.
It was part of not wanting to feel rejected or feel less than, which is a lot of what I felt growing up,
Yeah.
not realizing all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So uh, we'll stop right there.
Okay.
We have some more questions that we will answer in our part two, and we'll make that now that Monica's feeling better. But if there's a question that you have, um, email us. Or I know many of you all were responding or commenting in the chat. So if there's a question, again, our email address will put it down on the video. It's also on the channel. Feel free to reach out to us if you want to talk to us one on one. We're
Yeah.
available. Our schedule's kind of getting a little filled up now that more people are reaching out, but anything that we can do to help, any advice we can give, we are more than willing to do this
Yeah.
as long as we can, because I know this is something that um, I believe the Lord is going to open up doors for us to share our testimony out in public. And so our desire is just to help everyone,
Yeah.
everyone that's willing to hear us and receive the help. We want to help you along your journey. So feel free to reach out to us. And again, thank you for your
Thank you.
support. We'll have part two up pretty soon. But thank you and have a good one. God bless.
Bye.